Hello everybody, how you doing? My name is Mukhtar. Welcome to Work Tips Pro. This is where we help professionals like you stand out among their peers. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some very good questions that you can ask your interviewer, and it should impress them and hopefully land you that job. Be sure to stick around until the end. I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite questions towards the end of this video, and I'm also going to be sharing something that I think will help you prepare very well for your interview. Now, be careful not to do what I did in one of my interviews.
So do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, sure. When do I start? It wasn't funny. Now, when it comes to questions in interviews, your question should do these three things. Number one, it should signal interest. Number two, it should show competence. And number three, you want to use the question to see if the job is right for you. Many people forget this last part. It's not just them evaluating you, it's also you seeing if the job is the right fit for you. So make sure you keep these three things in mind when you are asking questions. So before we go into the question, there are some very important things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, never, please never say you don't have any questions. If your interviewer asks you if you have questions, don't say I'm good. I'm good is not good. So don't say you don't have any questions. Another important point to note is how many questions do you ask in the interview? I would say prepare a minimum of 5 questions and ask a minimum of 3 questions. It might happen that during the course of the interview, some of the questions that you've prepared would have already been answered. So you want to have some more questions that you can ask at the end of your interview. I would say just rank your questions in order of priority. Another thing to note is not to ask questions that you can easily research. Questions, for example, like what are the company values? How many employees are there in the company? Where are the office locations? So try not to ask questions that you can easily research. Another thing to note is not to ask questions that make it seem like you're just there to take. Questions like, what are the benefits? How fast do people get promoted? I prefer to stay away from these questions at least early on, and more than likely during the course of your interviews, these questions will be answered. Worst case scenario, after you've passed through all the interviews, when it's time for negotiations, you can ask these questions at that stage. Now let's go into some of the awesome questions that you can ask your interviewers. I'm going to share with you 5 types of questions that you can ask your interviewers. The first type of questions that you can ask are questions on success. You want to know what success looks like in this role. How would you be judged? So for example, you can ask, what do the most successful hires do well in the first 3 months? How would you describe success in this role in 3 months, in 6 months, or in 12 months? If things were to work out, what will make you say, I made the right decision with me in 3 months' time or in 6 months' time? You can pick and choose whatever timelines you want. The idea is to know what success looks like in the short term and in the long term. The next type of questions to ask are questions on challenges. I really love this type of questions because it allows you to zero in on the pain points of the company, the problems of the company, and then you can see how you can contribute to solving their problems. Some questions you can ask are, what would you say is your biggest challenge and how might this role help with that? What do you think is the biggest challenge that one will face in the first 3 months of this position? If there was one challenge that you wish would go away right now, what would that be? After the interviewer shares with you his or her challenge, don't just move on to the next question. Ensure that you understand the challenge. Ask further questions if you must to understand the problem really well. And if you have experience dealing with that challenge, make sure you mention it. But, and this is a big but, do it with humility. Don't be presumptuous. Don't assume that you're going to come in and solve all their problems for them. It's just been 30 minutes. It's just been 45 minutes. You don't understand all the intricacies of the problem. You're still an outsider. So you want to qualify your statement with, of course I need to get a thorough understanding, but I do think that I'll be able to help out with this particular problem that you're having. Here is a similar experience that I had in the past. And if you mention your experience of solving a similar challenge in the past, it should earn you some really big points. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And make sure you hit on the notification sign. It lets you know when videos come out. The next type of questions that you can ask are questions on the future or main goals. So some examples are, what are your main goals this year? Or what would you say are your main goals over the next 3 years? Is there anything you can share on where the company is headed? Where would you like the team or the department to be in a year's time or in 3 years' time? These type of questions help you know where your hiring manager will be paying the most attention to. And you're also signaling to the hiring manager that you care about the future of the team and you want to be a part of that future. If you see how you can contribute to the hiring manager's goals, make sure you mention it. But again, you want to keep in mind humility. You don't want to appear presumptuous. If you come across as being presumptuous, that might be a turnoff. Before we move on to the other types of questions, what I want you to take note of is now you've asked questions on what success looks like, what the main challenges are, what the main goals are. So now you should have a good understanding of what the main priorities are. Now, what I want you to do is to hold on to that. And when you're sending your thank you note after the interview, make sure you refer to the specifics of the interview now that you know the main priorities, and reiterate how your skills and experience can be used to help with the hiring manager's main priorities. The next type of questions are questions on culture. And I'm not talking about the general company culture, because this is something that you can easily find on the company website. By the way, why is it that whenever you go on a company website to take a look at their company culture, the employees are usually ironically not working? They're actually having fun, laughing, playing. They may even be at some off-site location, like maybe they're camping or doing some other team building activities. But then again, would you want to work in this place? A website with these pictures would not look as attractive. But I digress. So you want to ask questions that are specific to the team culture and not the overall company culture. So you can ask questions like, what's the team culture like? Another question that I like is, how do decisions get made in the team? Or how do you make decisions? One of the reasons why I like this question is because it gives you some insight into the manager's leadership style and also the team dynamic. So for example, if a manager says, I'm the smartest person in the room, I can't trust my team members to make decisions, so I make all the decisions. Versus, I consult and then I take a decision. Or I try to empower the team to make as many decisions as possible, and I only take the very, very critical decisions. So these three answers indicate three different leadership styles. So this type of question could give you some insights into the leadership style of the manager, and then you can decide if this environment is right for you. Another question that you can ask is, I see you've been with this company for 3 years. What do you like the most and what keeps you motivated? One of the reasons why I like this question is because it's an easy question for the interviewer. You don't want to always bombard the interviewer with challenging questions. Another reason why I like this question is that it gives the interviewer permission to speak about what they're passionate about, what they really like about their job. And it could give you some insight into the interviewer's personality and what really drives them. This question can also help with building rapport. If the interviewer mentions something that resonates with you or something that you find you share in common, feel free to highlight that. The next type of questions are questions to conclude. One type of question that you can ask is, what are the next steps? You don't want to be left in the dark, and you also want to know when will be a good time to follow up. And another question you can ask, and this is one of my favorites, is, do you have any concerns or questions about my qualifications? Is there anything you feel like I haven't addressed? I really love this question because either they say yes and then they go on to mention the concern, and that gives you an opportunity to address whatever concerns that they have. And it also shows that you are brave enough to ask for critical feedback and you're very empathetic. So either they say yes and it gives you a chance to address the feedback, or they say no, we're good. You are the perfect candidate for this role. Oh, they might not say that, but they might say something like, you check all the boxes, we don't have any concerns, stuff like that. Either way, this is a good question to ask so you know where you stand. As promised at the beginning of this video, I have prepared a free checklist that should help you prepare for your interview. This should help you ensure that you cover all the right things for your interview and help you ace your interviews. It's completely free. Click on the link below so you can grab a copy. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And feel free to share this video so that other people can benefit. See you in the next video.